Hi there, welcome to Thornton Now. I'm Todd Barnes, Communications Director for the City of Thornton. I'm sitting here with Mayor Heidi Williams, and we're going to have a discussion this day about some of the interesting things you've learned at some of the meetings that the mayors get to go to in our country. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
You went to the U.S. Conference of Mayors in Washington, D.C., and that was just a few weeks back. Can you tell me about the conference in general and some of the stuff that you thought was valuable?
Sure. So there's just a lot of mayors from the country that will go and meet at our winter meeting in January. Then we have a summer meeting that kind of rotates throughout the United States that we attend. And we talk about things that have to do with what mayors deal with on a daily basis. We deal with poverty, we deal with housing issues, what are some good policies around housing that we can put in place to promote building affordable and attainable housing. We talk about the opioid crisis at length. That started out as just a small committee and has now moved into a very, very large council that really delves into that serious issue. And the city actually recently, the city of Thornton signed on to a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies who have really promoted that opioid crisis. So Thornton's very actively involved in this issue. We delve into human health and human service issues. The city of Thornton doesn't actually take that on, per se, because our counties do that in Colorado. But that doesn't mean that we're not dealing with that on an everyday basis, which is why we have our community connections group and that sort of thing. So some of the stuff that I get there, I can pass on to staff that are dealing with those issues. And so, it was a really great conference. We had, when it's in DC, we tend to have a lot of people who are famous. So we had Nancy Pelosi was there. Actually, Governor Hickenlooper was there. He did kind of a 5-minute opening spiel. Of course, not saying yet if he was running for president or not, but he was there. Mayor Michael Hancock was there, and so we had a lot of great speakers at that conference.
Yeah, Colorado was well represented, it sounds like.
We were well represented in that respect. We don't get a lot of mayors that go there from Colorado. I didn't even go for the first 3 years of my first term, and then I recognized, because the late Mayor Steve Hogan talked to me about the lack of representation that we have from Colorado. And one of the main reasons that I joined U.S. Conference of Mayors was to really work on this water issue we have in the western states, right? So at this last conference, I was in the water meeting and was talking about how we go to Washington, D.C., the city of Thornton, and we talked to the EPA about this kind of disconnect we have between the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. And I do not want to bore all of our viewers, but the main thing is that because we are a water treater, so we do our own water treatment, we end up paying more money to treat that based on what people are polluting upstream, because they don't have to pay to treat it until later. So then you're getting like a double dipping of tax dollars into two similar systems.
Right.
So very complicated stuff. So anyway, at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, they have committed to working with us on getting that issue finally resolved. And the thing that kind of prompted me to ask that question was that several other mayors were there and had these kind of specific problems for their region, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors has been able to get those issues fixed. And so hoping that we can keep working on that issue with U.S. Conference of Mayors, and having that weight behind us will really be helpful, rather than just the city of Thornton going and lobbying for some
That's
fix.
the benefit of organizations like that. You have the paradigm of power because there are so many people behind an issue.
Yeah, and it's not just Thornton that deals with this issue, right? It's every city in Colorado or water district, but it's also, Nevada and California and Arizona. Anybody in the western states are dealing with this kind of drought situation, and the water laws were really made for the eastern states who have tons of water. So they have more water than they can deal with, and we have not enough. And so that's why you're right, this organization is important, and that's why I joined the organization to begin with. So I feel like, we've had some success there.
Yeah. Let's go back to this first thing you talked about, the housing issue, that it seems like this is something growing nationwide, but it's in particular, I hear more about it in Colorado. What are some of the challenges about getting affordable housing right now?
Well, right now the cost of construction is so high, as we all know. We now have additional tariffs. We have all of these things that, while it was expensive to build a house before, it's increasing. And so then you layer on top of that regulations, whether it's from the federal government, the state government, or the local government, that increases the cost to build a house. And so you really have to look at, number one, as a government, what can we do to influence this? Well, maybe we can waive some of the fees. Maybe we can make it less expensive on the regulatory side. That's one thing we can do, and we talk about that as mayors. You know, some cities create a housing fund, and that's how they can kind of work on affordable housing. The housing funds are nice because then you can partner with other agencies like CHAFA with your money, and when you have money to match, right, you always it becomes more competitive. So we have 104th in Colorado. We have a new low-income senior housing development going on over there. The city itself put in $2 million into that fund. Some of that was in kind, so we waived fees, and we did a lot of things. We used our community development block grant funds toward that project. So there's a lot of things you can do as a government to help affect that, but the true problem is that construction costs are really high. So one of my ideas is that we start looking at existing product. And that's really how you can take an existing product that maybe needs rehab, and you can really change, have a nonprofit go in, rehab it, and then turn it around and either rent it or sell it as affordable. So I think there's a lot of out-of-the-box thinking that we can do, and we talk about those kinds of things at the Housing Committee. But it does take the government, usually the local government, to really get behind that effort and find the right partners to do it, because we're not going to pay for that, right? We might waive fees and we might be able to do some things that help, but it still falls on the private market or the nonprofits to affect that change. And so unfortunately I'm term limited in November, and so this will continue to be a conversation that the city's going to have about, you know, how do we get affordable product out there for our people? Because we know we have a huge shortage of housing. We just got our housing study back, and the biggest shortage is in that affordable range. And so it's a very, very frustrating problem. It's what the academics would call a wicked problem, right? It's a problem that continues to be a problem, and there's not a lot of great solutions. And honestly, there can be a silver bullet for one city that wouldn't work at all in another.
Right.
And it could be political, it could be financial. There's all kinds of reasons why one works in one city and not in another.
Right.
It's a really hard problem.
Yeah, it sounds like it. We're going to take a break real quick. I'll have Mayor Williams back with us, and we're going to talk about water.
Wouldn't it be great if you had a way to let Thornton know when a pothole suddenly appears? Or when other issues in the city need attention? Like a streetlight going out, or some broken concrete on a sidewalk? Now there is. It's an app for your mobile phone called My Thornton. Just tap the app and you can report dozens of issues directly to Thornton staff. You can also get updates on the issue as it gets resolved.
So I think I've got everything I need. Do you want to stop for lunch or something?
Yeah, that sounds great. But I'm not really sure what's around here. Do you know?
Well, in Thornton, when we have this question, we tap the app, the My Thornton app.
Thornton information is literally just a tap away with the new My Thornton app. City information, news, restaurants, and more are all at your fingertips. Just visit the App Store for your Android or iPhone and search for Thornton. There you will find the My Thornton app. Download and install the app, and you are ready to find information about city events, shopping, news, and you can communicate with City Hall about issues 24/7. Just tap the app.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on Thornton Now. And once again, I'm here with Mayor Heidi Williams. Mayor, there was something happened in February 11th that you sent out a nice message on social media to the residents and businesses in Thornton, and it's a good chance for us to talk about this. The Larimer County Commissioners denied a permit for Thornton to build a pipeline to bring water that we own up north of Fort Collins and through the Poudre Canyon. We've owned this water since the mid-1980s, and they've denied a permit. And I would say there's a little frustration with what the process was like. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. As you know, the Larimer County staff actually recommended they approve this pipeline, and they did not. And so, you know, our staff has spent just countless hours on this. You know, we've spent so much money on this project since the 1980s, and the fact of the matter is it's our water, and we deserve the right to bring that water down in the manner in which we prefer. If we were to do it the way they want us to, the commissioners, it would come down a ditch, and then we would have to build a very, very expensive water treatment plant in order to take care of that water. And so it doesn't make sense for us to bring it down that way. what makes the best sense is for us to have a pipeline to bring that water down in its purest form. And so while we are disappointed with the commissioners, we're going to go ahead and wait for that final decision to be written up, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. We have a very, very smart staff here that have been working diligently on this, and I know that at some point we will get our water down here, but it's an incredibly frustrating process.
It is, and I was part of the process, as you know, and it's been interesting and a learning experience. Colorado water law is very complex. One of the things I've learned through this process. What the people need to know is that Thornton does own the water, and incumbent in water rights in our state is quality. They call it the sticks in the bundle. You know, we have a right of first use on our water, and quality is something that comes with our water rights. So we don't want to ruin any of the water quality that our residents have paid for and that we own. And so you need to know the mayor has been very supportive on this process. We're going to stick with the process and find a way to get that down here, and we will continue to keep you informed about the progress that the water project makes. We're also going to be building a pipeline. The total pipeline length is 75 miles, and we're moving on to Weld County. We think we've got some good success lined up for permits and access in Weld County. And I'm guessing that water is something you've dealt with on a national level, as you've mentioned before. And we will have more about the progress of the pipeline project in the near future. Hopefully some good news.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other thing that our residents need to know that they might not know is that we've worked in Larimer County and Weld County for the last 30 or so years, and we've always been a good neighbor. So we've paid in lieu of taxes. So because we're a government, we don't have to pay property taxes, but we're basically paying property taxes up there voluntarily. And we use their workforce in Weld County, where we have our farms. We actually will harvest hay bales and alfalfa and that sort of thing, and we sell them to the farmers up there at a reduced rate. So these are just some ways in which we've been good neighbors. We buy as much product as we can in Weld and Larimer County to ensure that they're getting the sales tax. And Colorado sales tax is a very important thing to municipalities and counties. And so we're doing the things that we believe are the right things to do. We've, of course, had relationships with Weld County and Larimer County all of these years to make sure that we're doing the things that they want us to do. And if there ever is an issue, we hop on it right away and take care of it. And so we've been working on this for a really long time. You and I probably were still in junior high when this project started, but we're the stewards of it now, and I think that we're doing a good job. I'm very proud of our staff and just the integrity in which they've gone about this whole legal process. And so stay tuned for more information. I look forward to having that pipeline under construction as soon as possible.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It would be, yeah.
Good. That's it for this edition of Thornton Now. Thanks for joining us. Mayor, thank you for joining us. We will see you next month with a new Thornton Now.
Thank you.